How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. Guys, I'm going to provide 10 tips to our rookie staff to kind of understand the culture that they're walking into when it comes to corrections. I know me, Joe Paponio, Russ Hamilton, we always try to encourage a family-like environment. But to be honest with you, most staff, most rookies won't walk into that type of support. And that's sad, but it is true. So with that said, I put together 10 tips. This will give the rookies an understanding of the culture a little bit more, so an effort to help them fit in. But I also got parts here for our senior staff as well as our leadership, because rookies should not be the ones that have to make the effort to fit in. Technically, we as senior staff, as leadership, we're the ones that are supposed to provide the environment for them where they feel included and then give them the want to learn in this environment. But because unfortunately there are some cultures where they're going to walk in and they're not going to get that support right away, these 10 tips will help them figure how to maneuver to earn that trust, because there's nothing here that I'm teaching today that is going to build knowledge of this culture in isolation. No rookie should be in this profession feeling that they have to do this alone. So in the end, these tips are more about understanding the culture and then how to connect with senior staff. But again, there's stuff for leadership here as well. There's stuff for senior staff here as well, in which the effort really is on you. The effort is on you. So the first tip is the culture doesn't say welcome. It watches you. So now let's go with our rookies first. Your first step onto the floor won't come with applause. There won't be a mentor waiting at the door. More likely there'll be silence. Not because people are rude, not because they're too busy, but because this place doesn't greet. It evaluates. In a world of corrections, trust is earned, not extended. The silence you walk into is intentional. Staff don't waste energy on people who might not last. Inmates don't test officers until they've read them. And your supervisors are watching closely, not for perfection, but for presence. You may feel like nobody's paying attention to you, but you're wrong. Everyone is paying attention to you. They're just not letting you know it. So what are they watching for? So, senior staff, inmates, leadership, they're watching you as a rookie to see if you're confident or if you're covering up insecurity with arrogance. I chose that because you'll see a lot of officers who come in that are insecure, and they think the best way to fight against that is to be aggressive. They think that competence equates to being louder. And obviously that's not the case. Actually, you'll probably get revealed as a fraud a bit sooner, because you can't carry that on forever. You just can't. So again, what we want for people, if you do feel insecure, is ask the questions so we can help you build that confidence. That's key. So you heard what I said there, leadership as well, senior staff, pick up on what I just said. If you have people that are coming in insecure, which we should expect that, we're going to have to help them find their confidence. That's the key. Do you ask good questions or pretend to know things you don't? Are you respectful without being too familiar? And do you carry yourself like someone who's here to work or just get through the day? And that is so important. If you're a rookie and this is day one, this is where you're going to have the most energy. Are you engaged? Because if I'm a senior officer and I'm going to give you my time, I'm going to share with you my hard-fought lessons, I want engagement in the lessons I'm giving you. If I'm going to invest in you, because that's an investment, I want to see that you're engaged. So again, now, as a rookie, you'll be tempted to speak up, joke around, prove you belong. Don't. The strongest introduction you can make is through calm, consistent action. Let your presence speak before your personality does. And that's key. And we'll probably explain that in a later tip, but most people, when they come in this profession, it makes sense. It's one of the Maslow hierarchies of needs, is the need to belong. So you may feel that maybe I got to shift my personality to connect with some of these individuals, but you don't, because that's actually the first step that you start to break away from who you really are. And usually that comes from the effort to want to belong and allowing that to supersede who you are. And we'll get to that. So how you handle it. So show up early, stay alert, listen more than you talk, ask questions, but space them out. Don't want to overwhelm our senior staff. Let your interest show without appearing lost. Nothing ruins a first impression faster than disengagement. Control your posture. Stand like you belong, even if you're still convincing yourself. Again, that's the funny thing about corrections, is you got to kind of play the role before you officially feel the role. But little wins along the way. Breathe, be curious, be coachable. You're not invisible. You're just being measured quietly. The silence will pass, but the impression you make in it, that sticks. Now, this is for our leadership and senior staff. How to support the rookie during this phase. So I'm talking to you. This moment is a pressure cooker for new officers. And we should know that. We've been there. The ones who have been through it know the look. Tense shoulders, wide eyes, head on a swivel. But while we say things like they need to earn their way in, we often forget earning doesn't mean isolating. Guys, I've seen a lot of senior officers will come in and say, you know what? I don't engage with rookie staff because I don't trust them. Okay, that to me is foolish, because they need to trust you. They need to know that they're being supported. So through my years, what I have discovered is that a lot of the senior officers that say that may be using that as an excuse just to push the rookie away because they don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be bothered with rookies, so I don't trust them. I'll just throw that out there as an excuse. Not even a justification, it's an excuse. But you're throwing the rookie to the wolves. At the end of the day, the rookie's still supposed to trust you. They're supposed to still feel that support. This is their first day in the profession. This is a foundational moment. And the moment they come to you, you push them out, that's going to be who they remember of what we are, what we're about. Goes against everything that we try to promote about what you walk into when you're in this profession. So a new officer is being shaped every minute they're on post. So what are the rookies watching? They're watching how you walk. They're watching how you talk to the inmates. They're watching how you talk to them. They're looking for a baseline. And if we give them silence and nothing else, they'll start building one from insecurity. Guys, silence speaks a lot to the person who's interpreting it their way. So if that person is filled with insecurity, that silence gets filled with insecurity. So we need to fill that gap. We need to fill that gap with positive advice, good, strong influence, and that will help them get through it. Now, how can you help without hand-holding? Fair enough. So acknowledge their presence without over-explaining it. So just as simple, you're doing fine, just focus on being steady, can carry someone for a week. So sometimes, guys, when people are silent, there's no acknowledgement as if they're heading in the right direction. So if you're a rookie and you don't know, and you're trying to figure it all out, it's good for a senior officer. Be specific with it, but say, hey, you're doing good. I like what you did the other day. And, keep going in that direction. Keep them motivated so they don't have to guess if every step they're taking is the right direction. So you want to help them understand the silence. That's what we just talked about. Basically, hey, people aren't ignoring you. They're watching to see if you're consistent. That's kind of what this part of the tip is about. Assign small, meaningful tasks. Let them run a count, do a walkthrough, shadow a write-up, something tangible that helps them engage instead of just float. Guys, when the rookies are coming in, if you're going to give them something to work on, give them the meaning behind the work. Coach them through it. Don't just make them your slaves. No, work with them. Connect them to the greater purpose. Let them see the value behind the work because, again, they're being introduced to the profession. They're being introduced to different types of tasks. This is a foundational moment. This is where they got to be reminded of be introduced to the value of the work so it carries with them, especially later on when they're in a position to teach the next generation. Pay attention to their nonverbal language. If they're shrinking, standing awkwardly, or clearly isolated, don't mock them. Coach them. Hey, stand tall here. Inmates read your posture before they hear your words. Let them get an understanding of this environment by the people who are going through it, who have gone through it. And talk to the team. You have influence amongst your peers, even with supervisors and leadership. Talk to the people you oversee. Make it clear that coldness isn't a rite of passage. A silent rookie may survive, but a guided one thrives. We don't want our rookies to come in on day one and be in survival mode. You're not learning in survival mode. You're just trying to get through the day. That's all you're doing. So guide them through it. And culture is loud even when it's silent. So the question is, are we using that silence to build someone or break them? Number 2, being accepted isn't the same as being included. And I think we really need to know the difference behind that. So I thought that was important because, again, as I mentioned earlier, people are going to look to belong. And that could supersede who they are because they may look to connect on personality when technically it should be what they value, what principles that they align with that can help them succeed in this profession. This is a very vulnerable part of a rookie's career, so we have to help them connect to where they need to be. So in the early weeks, this is for the rookies. In the early weeks, you might hear your name in casual conversation. Someone might joke with you at lineup or ask if you caught the game last night. It can feel like you're making progress, like you're finally in. But be careful. Acceptance is surface level. Inclusion is structural. In corrections, being included means people trust you with responsibility, not just small talk. It means they'll check with you before a major decision. It means they'll ask for your opinion when it counts. And it means they'll expect you to respond and not just observe. Sometimes rookies confuse attention with integration. They mistake being invited to lunch for being trusted on the floor. But here's the truth. Trust is weight. And until you're carrying some, you're still on the outside. So I want to give for the rookies a bit of an understanding of the difference between recognizing inclusion or acceptance. So are you being brought into operational conversations? That's inclusion. Or just social ones? That could be acceptance. Do people loop you in during tension? Could be inclusion. Or only when things are quiet? That could be acceptance. And are you given responsibility? Inclusion. Or just proximity? Pay attention to how people respond when you're around. Acceptance feels like inclusion, but tolerance often feels like you're just occupying space. See, that's the thing there is, are you included or are you just being tolerated? Like, do I feel like I'm part of the dialogue in a professional way, or am I just occupying space here? And again, and I'll get this, but we as senior staff have to be aware that rookies are going to want to belong for so many reasons. And we have to make sure that we provide an environment where they feel included and not just accepted. That's the key. How to earn inclusion. So again, for our rookies, be reliable. Inclusion starts with trust, not personality. And I hope that lets you know that you're not going to shift who you are to feel included. You usually shift who you are to feel accepted. But we're not looking for acceptance. We're looking for inclusion. Be responsive under pressure. So we're talking about those consistent actions we mentioned earlier before in tip 1. And even in small moments like opening a door for another staff member or calling a code to get people to respond. Follow up. If someone shows you something, circle back later, show them you remembered, and be honest when you don't know something. Vulnerability builds more trust than fake confidence ever could. Hey guys, these last two about following up with advice, that really does give respect to the senior officer who gave it to you, because it also lets them know when that advice was applied, you know, how it worked for them and whatnot, and it just keeps them invested. And then, as I mentioned, vulnerability matters. You know, you're not coming in to impress. You're coming in to show people that you can learn, that you want to learn. And that automatically gives respect to the people that are going to teach you those hard-fought lessons. So now, again, for our rookies, being included doesn't mean being one of the crowd. It means being counted on. And that's key. That's what gets you involved in those dialogues. Now, this is for our leadership now, for our senior staff, how to support rookies during this phase. Now, this is a deceptively important moment in a rookie's development. They're feeling out of their place in the group, and they may not realize they're still on the edge. Rookies often think they're integrated because people talk to them. But inclusion is about being entrusted, not just tolerated. So remember that, guys. Inclusion is about being entrusted. And as I mentioned before, not just tolerated. It's not just about giving them space. You can learn a lot from new people because they're seeing things with a fresh set of eyes. They don't have the burnout, not trapped in routines. So this is a good time to get them to feel included, because some people are like, well, they're too new. What do they know? Well, what do they see? What do they see? And the questions that they're asking, what does that make you think? Because you can learn a lot from a question that is asked. More importantly, what we've forgotten. So if you're a leader or even a peer, this is when your actions set the tone for what trust looks like in your environment. So remember, inclusion equates to trust. So how to help rookies move from accepted to included. Give them responsibility, not to test them, but to invite them. Hey, run this around, or post this report, or handle this escort. Let them feel the weight of participation. That's powerful. That's if you're looking to include the rookies, let them feel the weight of participation. Let them contribute during lineups sometimes, or even debriefs. Ask them, hey, what did you see today? And don't correct every detail. Just show that their perspective matters. Explain decisions. When you make a call during an incident, explain your thought process afterwards. Rookies learn more from your why than your what. And I agree. I've written on that before. Like, you want to connect to somebody, a shared experience. I always tell rookies, ask why. And when you have a good field training officer or a good mentor, they will answer those whys. And those whys become everlasting lessons because it's connected to meaning. And challenge the team's culture of cliques. If you notice a rookie constantly standing on the fringe during breaks or conversations, find a subtle way to bring them in. Hey, what's your take on this policy change? Goes a long way. So now remember, guys, inclusion doesn't happen when a rookie feels welcome. It happens when they feel needed. And is that hard for us as senior officers to admit? Is it hard for someone who has a lot of years to say, you know what, I need that rookie staff? I don't think it's that hard. And that starts pushing them towards feeling included. And that opens up a great door. There was a study on psychological safety by Timothy Clark. Got a great book on it. And he talks about 4 stages of psychological safety, which is what we all want to strive for. First step is inclusion. Second step is giving the environment so people can learn, which is really on the environment that person's going into. So that's on the senior staff. That's on leadership. But then eventually, It will help the person contribute, which is on them now. And then eventually you become innovative. They start to challenge the status quo. But it all starts from inclusion. Okay, number 3. I thought this was a good one because I know it happens and probably happens at the very beginning of your career. But the first time you're told to let it go will define you. This is a bit of a touchy subject. So let's talk to the rookies first. So the first time you're told to let it go. So it won't be loud. It won't be dramatic. But it'll stay with you. Maybe it's an inmate out of bounds. Maybe it's an officer who didn't log their rounds. Maybe it's a situation that clearly requires a write-up. But someone leans over and says, it's not a big deal. Just let it go. That moment isn't about the policy. It's about your identity. Because now this is the first time you're being challenged. This is the first time where it's in your face. This is the first time you have to hold those principles, those values. And that decision you make there sets the tone for how people see you moving forward. But more importantly, it sets the tone for how you see yourself and your ability to do the job. Because there's nothing easy in corrections. So this isn't about being rigid or self-righteous. This is about whether your integrity bends when it's inconvenient. Think about that. This is whether your integrity bends when it's inconvenient. So now look, if you're looking to be accepted, you're probably going to bend. But when you look for that inclusion, to be a part of something, to feel needed, integrity holds up. Because in corrections, people don't remember every rule you follow. But they always remember the one you let slide when it counted. That's powerful. So what makes this moment so defining? So again, to the rookies, it shows peers whether your standards are situational or stable. It shows inmates whether your rules can be negotiated. And we really can't negotiate correctional officers' objectives. So that's important. It shows the inmates whether your rules can be negotiated. You're not always going to be challenged by staff. Obviously, it's going to be the inmates too. And it shows leadership whether you understand the difference between flexibility and compromise. And that's definitely something that takes time to figure out. But with that said, look at the verbiage there. Flexibility, yeah, situations can happen where you have to flex a little. I get it. But compromise is not flexibility. And sometimes people mix the two. How to handle it without burning bridges. So stay respectful. Maybe even tell the person, I get it, but I'm going to log it in anyway. Keep it low drama. You don't need to explain yourself loudly. So let's not make a scene. Document. Let your reports reflect the professionalism you carry. And decompress later. Find someone you trust and talk through it. Don't internalize the tension. Because it is going to be a moment full of tension. Because you got two battling things. You know, again, you may be looking to belong, so you're falling into that acceptance thing. But then I got to do what's right. And whatever the decision is, there could be guilt towards either way. Guilt because I betrayed somebody, or you feel like you betrayed somebody when they shouldn't have even put you in that situation. And then the other side is you betrayed yourself or the standards you were meant to uphold. But it's not an either or. You know what you have to do. So the first one I mentioned, the former, they're the one that's in the wrong, not you. So don't take on that guilt. This is when you have to reinforce your values. And it's good to do it earlier the better. Earlier the better, because it only gets easier later on, but the earlier better because it sets the foundation. It defines every interaction later on. And it defines who you are and how you want to be seen. So the job doesn't get easier when you compromise. Now that's key. And it gets harder to explain who you are. So that's where the consistency is. So even when it comes to being flexible, there's still some level of the situation that can cause you to have to shift and adjust. But when you compromise, that really is based on your consistency, on who you are. And we don't really want inconsistency, because that's what gets tested. The moment inmates see inconsistency is what they'll test. The moment people that are doing the wrong thing see inconsistency, that's what they will test, because they see inconsistency as compromise, where flexibility isn't. And I think it's good to know the difference. So for leadership and senior staff, how to support the rookies during this phase. All right, so this is a crossroad moment for every officer. So now this is to our senior staff and to our rookies. And it's quiet. So most of the time, leadership doesn't even see it happen. But culture sure does. And the rookie definitely feels it. So if they choose integrity, it causes waves. So they're looking to see if anyone in leadership has their back. And leadership, guys, is not by position. So you're not going to defer that off if you're a senior officer or a senior staff member. Leadership could be people that emerge that have influence, and how you're using that influence. So if the rookie caves under pressure, they'll assume that's the real standard, even if policy says otherwise. That is so important. That's where the culture starts to speak louder than what actually needs to be done. And the rookie's only going to hear what's screaming. So how to prepare rookies for this moment. I think this is great. Talk about it before it happens. Hey, you'll be told to overlook something eventually. What matters is how you handle it when you do. Don't be afraid to have that dialogue, because we all know it's going to happen, whether it's with the inmates, whether it's with staff. So have the dialogue up front. Help prepare the person. Coach respectful dissent. Teach them how to push back without alienating their team. Give them the language to protect their standards without fighting fires. Decompress and debrief. If a rookie holds the line and it causes friction, let them know you saw it. I heard you stuck to your report. That matters, because that small affirmation prevents burnout. And set the example in front of them. Set the example in front of them. Let them hear you say no to something when it's easier to say nothing. Let them watch you take heat for doing the right thing. Rookies aren't just learning the job. They're learning the threshold for courage in your culture. Look at that. Look at how powerful that is. Rookies aren't just learning the job. They're learning the threshold for courage in your culture. Let's get to number 4. All right, so we're going to go back to the rookies. I'm talking to you now, guys, the rookies. You're not just new. You're not just new. You're a mirror. You're not just new. You're a mirror. For the rookie. Is it mirror? Mirror. Sorry, what am I saying? You're not just new. You're a mirror. Sometimes the accent gets to me. Again, for our rookies. You think you're just walking into a new job, but to the people around you, you're walking in with a flashlight. And without meaning to, you're shining it on everything they used to believe in, but may have forgotten. And we did touch on this earlier, but this is extremely powerful for me. You are walking as a rookie, shining that flashlight on practices that are now mistaken as if they're policy. And sadly, it happens where practice or complacency teaches practice or complacency, and we're so far away from policy. So here you are, you're new, you're got a bit of an understanding of policy, but you're trying to see how it applies in this world, and things don't make sense, and you put a light right on it even by just asking a question, and it forces people to think. But one thing we really never touched on before, it also forces people to remember who they once were. Maybe there are some people who were like you, putting that flashlight on things, but then they gave up and they stopped. They learned to accept. And yes, management did this to me. Well, you accepted it too. Because there are some people that don't let it happen. And they're persistent and they never give up. So sometimes this is a great reminder of, hey, where's the fight that was in you? What happened? So again, back to the rookie, your energy, it's a reminder of what they once had. Your questions, a reminder of what they stopped asking. And your motivation, it's a mirror to their fatigue. This is why some officers seem irritated by your presence, even if you haven't done anything wrong. You're not just new, you're a reflection. And not everyone likes what they see in you. That discomfort might show up in subtle ways. Maybe they'll give you the cold shoulder after lineup. Maybe they'll roll their eyes when they speak up. Or when you speak up, sorry. Maybe they'll roll their eyes when you speak up. Or maybe they'll mock your optimism under the guise of realism. Don't internalize it. Don't try to win them over. And most importantly, don't start dimming your light just because someone else burned out. Here's how to survive being the mirror. So stay grounded in your purpose. You're here for safety, security, and growth. Let's not forget that last part. And not their approval. Be respectful without seeking permission to be engaged. Be respectful without seeking permission to be engaged. Find your support system. Not everyone is against you, but the ones who are loudest often seem like they're the majority. And that's true. Remember, their behavior is about them, not you. So you can be new without being naive. And you can be proud of how you show up without apologizing for it. Now let's get to leadership. Let's talk to our leaders and our senior staff. So for leadership and senior staff, how do you support the rookie through this phase? So every facility has them. The burned out veterans who quietly resent anyone that still cares. When rookies walk in with the purpose, drive, and a desire to improve the place, they threaten the status quo, which has now been developed in the opposite direction. And when that status quo is mediocrity, these rookies become a cultural threat. But here's the truth. Every culture needs renewal, and rookies carry the seeds of it. Your job as a leader isn't just to protect rookies from hostility. It's to amplify the right behaviors and quiet the wrong ones. Not with lectures, not with memos, but with daily, visible decisions. So how do you protect and empower the rookie mirror? Talk to your team about projection. Make it known that mistreating someone because they remind you of your past isn't mentorship, it's sabotage. A lot of these rookies that are coming in are not leaving the profession because they hate the profession. They're leaving it because you put them next to the wrong person when they first entered the profession. You put them next to someone who no longer values it, who's disgruntled. And they unload on this rookie, and the rookie will come up and say, I'm leaving this profession. Oh, did the profession get to you? No, I don't want to be Anthony. Look at him. That's going to be me in 20 years? I'm out now. You pair energy with experience. Love that. Because when rookies are coming in, you know it, guys. We got the energy. We want to learn the job, but we should. That should be us. So you want to pair them with what? People that have experience. And what a beautiful dance that is, right? People that want to learn, people that want to do good, with people that want to share the lessons. Match driven rookies with respected veterans who haven't lost their edge. We're not doing that. We're just filling up schedules, and you don't give rookies anything to progress towards. You put them next to people who are just angry with everything, and you're losing out on the most important part of someone's career, the introduction. Call out silent hostility. If a group starts excluding or mocking a new officer who's trying hard, don't brush it off as culture. Call it what it is. Cultural corrosion. That's not just a culture here, that's corrosion. We got to get rid of it. It's cancer. Let's get rid of it. What do? How do we work together to get that cancer out so I can get these rookies in? Because I may have the rookies right now and I may have them ready, but the culture is not ready. And I'll be damned if someone's going to put the blame on us for not bringing people in if the culture wasn't ready to accept them. So you know what we'll do? We'll wait. I can get the people now. But how do we fix this? And model healthy engagement. Let rookies see you energized, curious, and proud of the work. They'll believe it's possible because you proven it. Now, a culture that punishes drive will drown in its own resentment. A culture that punishes drive will drown in its own resentment. But a culture that protects energy, that one grows stronger with every new hire. Because it just keeps that momentum going. You know, a lot of times I always tell people, you know what? It's if you could keep the momentum going in the right direction and keep it fueled, watch how everything works itself out. Just watch. But this part, a culture that punishes drive will drown in its own resentment. But a culture that protects energy, that one grows stronger with every new hire. Number 5. Again, we're going to talk to our rookies first. But this is about how burnout is contagious. But so is professionalism. It's a matter about how fast or speed each thing spreads. So again, for our rookies, it won't take long before you spot them. The officers who have stopped caring, they're sarcastic, checked out, everything is a joke or a complaint. And here's the part that might surprise you. They'll look like the ones with all the answers. And here's the part that might surprise you. The burned out ones look like the ones with all the answers. Why? Because apathy sounds confident. And when you're unsure of yourself, that nothing matters, well, that nothing matter attitude can seem like wisdom. But don't be fooled. It's not confidence. That's corrosion. And if you hang around it long enough, you'll start to rust too. But you also see another kind of officer. Quiet, steady, consistent, rarely complains, rarely cuts corners, doesn't need attention to do it right. And that's who you need to gravitate towards. Remember, it's not always the loudest person in the room. So what burnout might sound like? Why are you writing that? That's not worth your time. Or you'll learn this place doesn't change. Or you're trying too hard. Just do the bare minimum. What professionalism sounds like. Good job catching that. I document it. Protects you later. Or we do it right, even when others don't. So how to keep your energy clean? Choose your mentors wisely. Choose your mentors wisely. Energy transfers. So don't take on someone else's exhaustion. Don't take on someone else's exhaustion. Stay curious. Ask questions that help you improve, not ones that feed cynicism. And make room for breaks. You're no good to the job if you let yourself run dry trying to prove a point. Now, you can't stop the burnout around you, but you can refuse to become a part of it. So again, you can't stop the burnout around you, but you can refuse to become part of it. Now, for our leadership and senior staff, this is for you. How do we support the rookies through these phases? And guys, everything I'm saying here is not controversial, it's the truth. If we want an environment that welcomes people, these are the things that we have to do. And there's a lot of peer-to-peer accountability here. So again, to our senior staff, our leadership, the biggest threat to your facility's culture isn't always misconduct. It's the normalization of mediocrity. And it spreads faster than you think. 1 or 2 checked out staff can shape the entire tone of a unit. And when rookies are exposed to that early on, they assume it's the real job. That's why who you place them near, who you promote, and who you model matters more than what you say. Who is that first person that meets that rookie on day one? How did they get that position? Is that someone that loves the job, values it, has experience, can teach it A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Or is that just a connection? And do we keep on top of them? What message are they getting out there? How much influence do they have of their environment as well to make sure that they can also push something out there that encourages a culture that will help the rookie feel welcomed? So how to keep professionalism contagious and burnout contained. Identify and elevate your quiet professionals. Not everyone wants to be a mentor. I get it. But everyone is watching who gets affirmed. Stop promoting based on time served. If burnout is leading your post, you're recruiting clones, not leaders. Debrief early and often. Ask rookies how the shift felt. What did they notice? What did they question? That reflection prevents absorption of toxicity. That matters. Because there's a little bit of a counter influence there. If the person's being influenced in the wrong direction, it's good to get ahead of it before it sets in. I get you can't control every interaction, but we should be able to kind of get to them in time so those interactions still have a level of conflict before it sets in. Correct apathy in real time. If someone undermines policy or mocks effort in front of a rookie, intervene. That's not how we operate here. Should be a phrase used freely by those in charge. Burnout is loud, but professionalism is louder when leadership puts a spotlight on it. So burnout is loud, but professionalism is louder when leadership puts a spotlight on it. And again, when I say leadership in the context, leadership is not by title, by how you carry yourself. Number 6, we're going to go with our rookies first again. Your post isn't just a spot. It's a stage. So again, your post isn't just a spot, it's a stage. So it might just be a chair in the corner, a desk in the control room, a spot on the tier. But don't get comfortable because that post isn't neutral. It's a stage. And the moment you sit down, you're in a show that's been running long before you got there. The audience, inmates, peers, supervisors, cameras, even your silence speaks. Every movement, every tone, every delay or decision tells people what kind of officer you are. Whether you mean to or not, you're sending a signal. Either I'm engaged or I'm distracted. I'm in control or I'm overwhelmed. I set the tone or I follow someone else's. Inmates are watching for weakness or inconsistency. Peers are watching to see if they can count on you. Leadership is watching for potential or liability. And the stage is always active, even when the scene looks calm. So, what do you pay attention to? Your body language, slouching, staring at the clock, disengaged. This post doesn't matter. Your voice, sharpness, sarcasm, or uncertainty undercuts your presence more than you realize. And your movement. Are you planted? Wandering? Do you own your space? So how do you turn your post into command presence? Sit like someone has a purpose. Scan the environment regularly, even when nothing's happening. Speak clearly, make eye contact, set the tone for communication. Set the tone for communication. Love that. And be proactive, not reactive. Let inmates know you're aware before they test you. So you don't have to be loud to lead. You just have to be consistent enough that people feel your presence without you saying a word. How nice is that? And what a great thing to start off with at the beginning of your profession. But that's something that have to be guided as well. So senior officers, experienced staff, leadership, we all have a part in this one. But look how beautiful that is. If we could do that for the rookie, help them become consistent enough that their presence is felt without them saying a word. Imagine these units right now where the inmates that are more harder to control, and now we're understaffed, so we need rookies to go in there And rookies, they may not have a reputation. They just started. So how do we give them a presence and let that presence become the reputation? And that could help them out a lot. So hopefully there's senior staff that realize the power in that. Because sometimes, guys, it's not about enforcing the rules. It's about how you carry yourself. The strength of your ability to control behavior is not so much about the rules you enforce, but rather how you carry yourself before you enforce the rules. Do you believe in your role and what's expected of you? Now, for leadership and senior staff, this is for you guys now, how to support rookies during this phase. So rookies don't always realize how visible they are. They think they're blending in, and they're not. Every action is being absorbed by the people around them, especially when they're alone at post for the first time. This is when you can either build presence or correct posture. Too many facilities let a rookie's stage become a slump. They're posted without coaching, evaluated without direction, and then reprimanded when someone finally notices that the optics are off. So they wait for it to get to that point before they say something, where technically if this is a rookie and the optics are off, should we look at ourselves first? Could I have done a little more? Has this person been guided at this point? Or has this slowly become an expectation because we haven't been involved in helping this person build themselves up so they can meet the standards of expectation? So how to make presence part of training and not the afterthought. Explain what the post communicates. Tell them this isn't just about coverage. It's about posture. People need to feel you're in control even when you're not talking. I think, again, as I mentioned before, that is extremely powerful, because there are people that could walk in a unit and it shuts down. And rookies can have that effect too, just by how they carry themselves and their consistency in doing that. Watch their silence. So again, for senior staff, don't just look at what they do, watch what they don't do. Their nonverbal behaviors often speak louder than the verbal ones. Do random walk-bys, not to catch them, but to coach them. Hey, you look checked out. You good? That's a better investment than, why weren't you watching the tier? Look where one shows I'm willing to help you, as opposed to hold you accountable. Can I hold somebody accountable that I don't know if they even know, because we haven't guided them in, if they know what that expectation is and why they're not meeting it? And set up scenarios, put them in the tower and central control in a unit with high tension, debrief what they felt and what they've learned about body language under pressure. If the stage shapes perception, then the director has a duty to shape the actor. If the stage shapes perception, then the director has a duty to shape the actor. God, we swallowed a little water. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I wanted to do something with the inmate population for number 7. Sorry, because that does matter. So now I got a lot of books on manipulation out there. 2 on Amazon right now. One called Inmate Manipulation Decoded, and the other called Breaking Boundaries. So I'm not going to reiterate every lesson in those books because there's a lot there. I think manipulation is a very complex process. But I think there is something here in general that's good advice that I wanted to put out there. And I want people to know about manipulation being a process. And that kind of is the foundation for the books I have out in the market. So for this, it's, again, to the rookies, manipulation doesn't start with a favor. It starts with familiarity. See, even when I wrote the book, Inmate Manipulation Decoded, it was great, started showing some of the tactics that are employed. But I wind up doing one later on, which is out in the market now, called Breaking Boundaries, because it is about familiarity, because that's what leads to everything. So for rookies, you've been told to watch out for manipulation. And like most people, you probably imagine some dramatic scene. An inmate offers you money or asks for contraband or tries to flirt, but that's not where it starts. Manipulation begins way before the ask. It begins with closeness, with conversation, with emotional access. You'll hear things like, hey, you got kids? Yeah, you're cool, not like the others. Or, you look tired today. Everything good? Feels harmless, feels friendly. And that's exactly the point. Inmates don't build leverage overnight. They build it through rapport. Once they know your routine, your habits, your personality, they test boundaries. Small at first, then more. What early manipulation looks like: fishing for personal information, like you're married, you have kids. Testing your consistency. Talked about that. And again, consistency, that's the first thing that definitely be tested. So that's when they challenge you and they see if you start to hesitate or compromise. So basically, you let me slide, maybe I'll try something else. Seeking favor under the guise of respect, like you're the only one I trust. Now, how to stop it before it starts: be polite, not personal; friendly, not familiar. Deflect personal questions with professionalism. Hey, let's stay focused on the unit. There's no need for you to wonder if I'm married or have kids. It doesn't apply here, and it doesn't apply within the context of what our relationship needs to be, which is professional. Keep the same tone for everyone. Inmates notice when you give one person more leniency than others. And trust your gut. If something feels too easy, too flattering, or too close, it probably is. The first boundary cross is usually invisible, but the fallout really is. All right, let's get to the next part. So now this will be for our senior staff and our leadership. And how do we help the rookies through this phase? So I'm talking to you guys. Manipulation prevention is often taught like it's obvious. Don't give your number, don't take gifts, but that skips over the reality. Most manipulation starts with the emotional hook, not the physical one. Rookies need, remember, it's about the process, not the end result. Rookies need more than a checklist. They need awareness of the grooming process, because most won't see it until they're in too deep. And how to inoculate rookies against emotional manipulation. Teach the stages. Show them how inmates escalate from conversation to control. Narrate the path, not just the endpoint. Role play grooming tactics. Simulate early scenarios. Here's what it sounds like when it's subtle. Let them know. Encourage daily checks. Did I overshare today? Did I let something slide because I felt bad? These are questions that you can get the rookie to ask themselves, and back them up when they say no. If a rookie draws a line and an inmate pushes back, support the line even if it makes the shift harder. That's how confidence is built. I tell people at the very get-go, when a rookie comes in, you want them to embrace conflict, so they are going to write up the smaller things. They have to, because they got to get used to handling that level of authority. So you don't want to circumvent that for a rookie. So if you're a peer and you're working with them, you got to go towards them. They're not ready to meet you. You got to go towards them. You got to work with them. Today we're going to run a unit like this. It is what it is, guys. And leadership should be coming in expecting those write-ups. If I'm a supervisor and I got a rookie and I come in at the end of the day and there's no write-ups, you're telling me you didn't challenge what could be a substitute teacher today? No, I don't buy that. I'm going to talk to her. Hey, how was your day? What happened here? You had a day with no concerns as a rookie? So it's not that you want the rookie to be annoying in their efforts. No, they're embracing conflict. They're making sure that they understand what that role of authority is and how hard it could be to say no. So they have to get comfortable with that within reason. All right. Number 8. So 8, 9, 10. 3 more left. So again, now this is going for our rookies. And this is about you won't always be surrounded by standards. So sometimes you'll have to be the one. Now, this is a lot different than we talked about in the prior tips. Now, this is you setting the tone, you growing into the role, you now embracing what that expectation is and setting the standard for others to watch. This is when you have a strong foundation already and you know that you're rooted in principle, values, good principles, good values, and it makes it harder to shift. You're not here to be accepted. You're now included. I don't need anybody's approval because I know what's expected of me. So for rookies, there'll be shifts when you're the only one doing it right. You'll do your rounds while others skip theirs. You'll enforce a rule that others let slide. You'll write the report no one else wants to touch. And you'll be tempted to ease off because it's easier to blend in than to be the one holding the line. But here's the reality. Corrections needs officers who don't just follow the standard, but carry it when others won't. Corrections needs officers who don't just follow the standard, but carry it when others won't. It's reflective of the other passage as well, where there'll be one moment where you're told not to do something that goes against what you've been taught. Your consistency might annoy some people. They'll say you're trying too hard, that you're making them look bad, that you should relax. But your integrity is not an inconvenience. It's your credibility. Your integrity is not an inconvenience. It's your credibility. So what does this look like in real time? You follow post orders even when others roll their eyes. You speak up about policy even when it's unpopular. And you avoid going along to get along, even if it costs you short-term comfort. That's why it's so important to understand the difference between inclusion and acceptance. It all plays out. If these things don't just stand in isolation, they roll out together. But if you're still worried about being accepted, then your standards do lessen. How to handle being the lone standard. How to handle being the lone standard. Stay neutral in tone. You're not there to judge others. You're there to guard your own principles. Document decisions. When others question your consistency, your documentation speaks for you. Don't get pulled into comparison. Just because others do it differently doesn't mean you're wrong. And find strength in silence. Leadership notices who does the right thing when nobody's watching. If you're the only one upholding the standard, you're not doing too much. You're doing what's right in the absence of noise. So again, if you're the only one upholding the standard, you're not doing too much. You're doing what is right in the absence of noise. Now to our senior staff, our leadership, this is one of the most vulnerable points for a rookie. Not because they're wrong, but because they're alone in doing it right. When a new officer becomes a standard carrier, they often face peer friction. They're seen as overachievers, tattletales, or too strict. Left unsupported, they either get pushed out or pressured down. But if you want a culture of professionalism, you must protect the people living it out. How to support the standard bearer? Affirm their behavior publicly. Hey, good job sticking to post orders yesterday. That matters. Even subtle praises creates cultural armor. Redirect peer criticism. If others mock or isolate them, step in. Hey, following policy isn't showing off. It's doing your job. Don't let them drown in paperwork. If they're the only ones writing reports, give them breathing room. Acknowledge the weight they're carrying. Why is this the only person doing the job? And use their example to coach others without singling them out. Let's all make sure we're documenting like Officer X did here. Keep them motivated. Keep that standard going in the direction that you want it to go to, because these are the basics too, guys. Sometimes you don't find out the basics are not being done until it's all exploded in your face. So standards don't survive because policies demand them. They survive because leaders defend the people who live them. That's the basics. Standards don't survive because policies demand them. They survive because leaders defend the people who live them. 2 more. Number 9. Again, I'm going back to the rookies now. I'm talking to you guys. Confidence doesn't come first. Consistency does. We kind of touched on that. You got to kind of play the role before you become the role. And you do that through small wins along the way. Consistency is a very small win at first, but builds in what winds up being probably the most impactful component of your authority. So for the rookies, you're probably waiting for the moment when everything clicks. When your voice stops shaking, when you walk the tier like you own it, when you finally feel like a real officer. That moment, it's not a switch, it's a result. And it doesn't come from one good day. It comes from 100 good repetitions. You gain confidence the same way you gain strength, by doing the same thing right until it feels natural. By doing the same thing right until it feels natural. Right now, you might feel awkward. Saying a code over the radio might tie your tongue. Confronting an inmate might make your hand shake. Writing reports might take you twice as long as anyone else. That's okay. Every veteran you look up to felt that once. They didn't wait to feel confident. They kept showing up until confidence caught up. They kept showing up until confidence caught up. I learned this as we were writing this, putting it together, that, you always tell people you got to go in confident, But I'm like, well, I always also tell people that your confidence comes from those around you first. Knowing you have the resources. You may have to lean on the rules and know that you got staff that's going to help you through it. And then that push you towards internal confidence. So I love that. These senior staff, they didn't wait to feel confident. They kept showing up until confidence caught up. How to build consistency that breeds confidence. Have a rhythm. Without being predictable. Bear with me on this, because there is professional predictability. That's what I mean by that. Professional predictability. Do your rounds the same way. Communicate clearly. Build predictable habits. Now, when I say in the level here, predictability, I mean be predictable in how you carry out your task with 100% commitment. I'm not talking about being predictable in time or in the direction you maneuver, but rather in your commitment, your effort to do the job. Prepare before you're under pressure. Review post orders, rehearse codes, ask what-if questions, and make sure when you're asking those questions, you keep yourself motivated. You're not asking questions to demotivate you, so listen to that internal dialogue. Don't chase shortcuts. Speed will come. Right now, focus on accuracy and intention. That's very important. All because the senior officer does it that way doesn't mean you're ready to do it that way. So let's worry about accuracy and intent. And intent also comes from the why, understanding what it is that you're doing. I get it, but you got to know why you're doing it, because that will help you apply it to greater things. And track your own growth. The person you were 2 weeks ago would be impressed by how far you've already come. And you don't become confident by knowing everything. You become confident by being reliable with what you know. You don't become confident by knowing everything. You become confident by being reliable with what you know. Just let that sit, because that will help you through insecurity. Sometimes we get so focused on where we expect to be that we don't realize that the veteran officers here, a lot of the stuff that they learned that made them where they're at right now happened in on-scene hours. It was developed. And sometimes we may unfairly compare ourselves to those that have been doing the job for years. And I want to be that. You're not ready for that. And you shouldn't give yourself that impossible expectation. So right here, you don't become confident by knowing everything. You become confident by being reliable with what you know. And again, that's a good tip. So for leadership and senior staff, again, this is to you, how to support the rookie during this phase. This is the phase where rookies either build momentum or start feeling like they don't belong. And I love momentum, man. Momentum, you want to keep that fueled. Momentum takes obstacles down. That's why I'm against micromanagement. You're stopping the momentum. Let the momentum go. Automate processes. And momentum is empowerment. That's really what it is. Delegate empowerment. The trap is this. All right, so wait, hold on. So for rookies, this is the phase where rookies... So this is our senior staff, sorry. This is the phase where rookies either build momentum or start feeling like they don't belong. The trap is this. They think everyone else has it all figured out. Ain't that the truth? I remember when I came in as a rookie, I looked at everyone else like, man, they have the answers. How do I get to that? And look at that jump. And I've actually did that a step in my career. I did that when I was a sergeant, expecting I should know more than I should have. And then even when I became administration, I saw everybody running around solving problems I didn't even know existed, wondering how am I going to be able to do this job? And it was really an unfair expectation because I didn't allow for their experience to say, well, maybe that's why they know these things. So that unfair expectation does weigh heavily. It's traveled with me throughout my career. So being able to tell a rookie as a senior officer or as a leadership that, hey, it's okay to not know what they know. You're not ready for that. But our job is to get you there. And that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes the hardest thing with rookies is they need to forgive themselves for that. So when they make a mistake, so when a rookie makes a mistake or freezes in a tense moment, they think it's proof that they're not cut out for the job. That's when leadership matters most. Not to lower the standard, but to normalize the process. And that's I like the way that's worded. So how to build consistency that leads to confidence. Catch them doing it right. Hey, I noticed you handled that inmate interaction well. That's exactly what we look for. And be specific with that recognition or in a better, maybe appreciation. Be specific with it. It's not, hey, you're doing good, but where are they doing good at? Normalize normalize early stumbles. Hey, you're gonna mess some things up. Just be willing to learn. That's what matters. You know, for a rookie, when they mess up at the very beginning of their career, they really don't have positive experiences that will lift them up, like senior staff do. So sometimes that's where we have to help them. That's what keeps them on the right path, because they could internalize a failure at the very beginning of your career at a lot deeper of a level than us later on, where it's like, all right, whatever. You know, it's different for a rookie. Build habits through coach and ask, hey, what's your plan for walking the tier today? Or how are you handling this pod differently from yesterday? And set reachable benchmarks. Instead of vague praise, give targets. This week, focus on getting your rounds done on schedule every time. This is powerful, because when you have rookies that are coming into this profession, especially nowadays, they need to know that they're progressing towards something and not just being passed off. So we got them through a curriculum in the academy, but what are we doing when they're finally in the facility? You know, are we giving them something to move towards so they know the significance behind what they're doing that day? And how does that apply to something greater? It's not just a check mark that, oh, I trained in a unit today, but rather what are the things that you're picking up that makes you move towards a better officer. I'm not looking for someone who only learns a post to be a post, but rather how does this make them the overall officer we need them to be? And that's the progression. And I think we need to develop stuff that can lead towards that. So it's basically, how do you put everything together, all these independent lessons, and let them see how that applies to them being a better officer? And confidence isn't built from compliments. It's built from consistency that's recognized and reinforced by leadership. Okay, number 10, last one. This is for our rookies first. Talking to you guys. And this is one of my favorite parts of this lesson that I teach. And it's called You're Leading Long Before You're Called a Leader. You're leading long before you're called a leader. So for the rookie, you might think leadership is something you grow into after a few years, after you mastered the job, earned a title, gotten comfortable with authority. But the truth, you're already leading right now. Not with stripes, not with rank, but with your tone, your decisions, your reactions. Every time you make a call under pressure, every time you enforce a rule when others shrug it off, every time you hold your ground, stay composed, or treat people with dignity, you are influencing the space around you. In corrections, leadership is more than command presence. It's moral gravity. It's the pull that stabilizes the room when things feel tense or uncertain. And rookies often underestimate just how much power they already have in that space. And part of the dialogue we had today was about understanding that presence, that power. So what does early leadership look like? Remaining calm when everyone gets loud. That's a great way to stabilize a room. De-escalating instead of escalating. Being dependable on post even when no one says thank you. Asking smart questions in lineup that others hadn't considered. And speaking up when a policy isn't being followed. Not as a snitch, but as someone that's invested in the job. And when you say invested in the job, that's safety and security. Safety and security. You won't always be recognized for these moments, but they matter. And the right people are watching. So how do you build your early leadership voice? Focus on influence, not approval. When who you impress is less important than what you model. Who you impress is less important than what you model. Watch the leaders you respect. Ask, what do they do that earns that respect? That's a great question. That's a question that I truly wish I would have asked, because that would help me be a better leader. If I was an officer at the beginning of my career, it'd been great for me to see supervisors and say, man, I wonder what it is that they do that earns the respect, so I can grow into that. Make it my own, but still grow into something. Own your mistakes. Real leaders grow from failure faster than others pretend it didn't happen. Failures and success are intertwined. Failures keep you humble. Success keeps you motivated. Learn how to balance them both. Protect the tone of the room. Whether you realize it or not, your presence adds or subtracts from the energy in the unit. So you don't become a leader when someone promotes you. We talked about this. You become a leader when people quietly start following your example. Now, for leadership and senior staff, last part, this is for you. Coming your way. This is the point when a rookie starts shifting from survival to influence. And hopefully we were invested during this process. You can't learn in survival mode. You just want to get through it. And if leadership doesn't catch it and nurture it, they'll either burn out trying to lead in silence or give up thinking it doesn't matter. So what's happening now is subtle but critical. Rookies are testing their voice. They're wondering if they're allowed to contribute ideas. They're noticing things and unsure if they should speak up. They're setting an example and wondering if anyone even sees it. And this is your opportunity to either empower that voice or unintentionally silence it. So how to grow the leadership that's already in them. Give them permission to think like a leader. Hey, what would you do here is a powerful question to ask in a real-time moment. This again comes with the inclusion part. Include them in post-incident debriefs. Ask, what did you observe? And don't just talk at them. Listen to their read of the situation. Celebrate influence, not just compliance, because compliance doesn't give you commitment. The way you handled that housing issue kept the whole unit calm. That's leadership. And again, be specific. And teach them how to lead without rank. It's not about ordering people around. It's about setting the tone, protecting the standard. That's what real leaders do. So again, titles may give you authority, but examples, well, that gives you followers. And when a rookie leads well, followership happens whether they know it or not. Hey, it was just a nice one-on-one. Had the day off. Figure I'd sit there and share some lessons out there to our rookies who I know need it right now. As again, me, Russ, and Joe, we always try to put in that when you go into corrections, the environment could be welcoming, but when you start getting the comments that say it's not as welcome as we'd like it to be, even though we're still trying, we also know it's a reality. So I don't want people to always think that we're throwing out their fluff. Sometimes we're just throwing out realistic optimism. Because I've been there. I've dealt with this sink or swim. I know how it feels in some cases to think you have to be in this profession alone. And for the senior staff, guys, it's up to us to push the standards right from day one, especially from day one, because it's foundational. Initial introductions, first impressions matter. It defines everything afterwards, everything. And if we start this off wrong, the person's perspective of that profession will weaken. And it's not because of the profession. It's because of who introduced them to it. Ain't that the key? As always, guys, the show is here. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify every time I post a video. Stay safe.